All right, next up we've got another lifter who sent in his three lifters of his last heavy day before the competition. He says, I was feeling nervous about the heavy singles, so I pushed it a bit past openers, and I feel much better for it. I hope it shouldn't impact my performance in any negative way, but I feel fine. Before we get started with the videos, I just want to address that real quick. I think at this point your competition should be over, so I don't mind saying that that's not the best plan. Pushing past openers and what you show in these videos are 9s, 9.5s. These are somewhere between second and third attempts. Taking these 5-6 days out from the meet, I think some people can get away with it, particularly if they're used to doing a lot of heavy singles, particularly if they're the type of person who can deal with that sort of mental stress. So there's some personality that goes into it. There's some conditioning that goes into it. Some people can get by with it, but it's not a thing that I think is necessary or a thing that I recommend. I think it betrays some nervousness maybe, which I don't know. I get maybe that's not a real novel statement because you said in your email that you were feeling nervous about it. That's okay. You're supposed to feel a little bit nervous a week out from competition. And in terms of consequences, what we find is that the heavier you go with the singles, the faster the peak happens. So you're already in or very near a peak condition when you're 5-6 days out from a meet. And so pushing the singles even harder makes that whole process happen faster. And that's not a thing that we want because we're trying to time the peak so that it happens on the meet day. And so if you start messing around with the speed of that peak, that could be potentially a negative thing. So anyway, I hope the meet went fine. I hope the meet went fine. Obviously, it already happened at this point, so maybe in another email you'll tell me how the meet went. But let's go ahead and check out these videos and see if I have any advice for you. So your back gets fairly rounded on this lift, which again, I'm glad that the meet is already over. Let's go back. I'm glad the meet is already over because this is not a thing that you'll want to try to fix, 5 or 6 days out. But it's maybe a thing that you want to fix at this point. Your back is pretty long for your femur length, so that's going to make it difficult. It's going to be a difficult problem to solve. But at a minimum, you want to stop this flex under load. This is a thing that really should get corrected. Just kind of ignoring this problem is not a real sound strategy. You're going to want to work on deadlifting in a more flat back position. And if you haven't already tried sumo, it's a thing that you're going to want to seriously consider. You don't necessarily need to go feet out to the plates, but you may want to try a sumo position, turn your toes out a little bit and really shove those knees out and try to get in a more vertical position in the bottom. That will hopefully allow you to maintain a more neutral spine position throughout your lift. But fixing that is a thing that you're going to want to focus on because you are flexing under load. You are, as you pull the weight off the floor and as your tension across your whole body increases, your spine is bending. And that's the thing that we want to avoid for sure. So, so anyway, that's deadlift. Let's move on to the bench. So, let's see. Nice long pause. Whoever gave you your press command was not being overly friendly to you. I think your shoulder blades could be together a bit more. It's hard to really see, but at a minimum, I think you could roll up onto your traps a bit more. You could uh, you know, your butt probably did come off the bench. So that's a thing that you'll want to be aware of. Try turning your heels out. Um, I don't think I would call that, because I didn't see enough daylight, that I don't think I would call that in a competition. But it's very, very close at a minimum. And maybe if my position was different, I would see daylight, and that's not good. So at any rate, something to be aware of. Pinch your shoulder blades together a bit and really drive yourself up onto your traps. And then at that point, tuck your elbows just a little bit more. Touch a little bit lower on your chest. Not a lot. I'm talking about maybe an inch or two lower. A little bit goes a long way. Try that and see how it feels. Try that for a couple weeks and see how it feels. Yeah, and let's go from there. Checking out your squat here. We have the same spinal flexion thing, which is definitely a major error in the squat. In general, you've got a little bit of, the chest fall pattern, which is not really an error, but it's just a thing that tends to happen to most people when they squat heavy. So keep doing your quad work, but you're definitely getting some spinal flexion here, which is hard to tell just from one video. But it seems like it's low back posterior chain sort of weakness. It seems like we need to work on that quality, that ability to maintain your back position a lot more. So what I would like to see is, first of all, this is a major error, so that you need to fix this. If this happens in training, then the weight is too heavy, and you need to reduce the load until it doesn't happen. If you don't see what I'm talking about, let me know. But here, we'll point it out a little bit more plainly. As you come out of the hole, you see that you start off in a really great position. You descend in a really great position, and you pop out of the hole in a pretty good position. But then when you hit that sticking point, your back caves. You get spinal flexion in the sticking point. So if that's happening in training, you need to train at a weight where it doesn't happen. Like it can't happen. That would be the first thing. Then the second thing is, I think in terms of assistance work, things like pause squats are going to be good, because it's going to require you to maintain that position a little bit longer. Even pin squats are going to be helpful, because it's going to train that chest fall sort of pattern, and it'll require you to resist that. It'll teach you some spinal bracing stuff. In terms of your supplemental work, that's where we get the most variability, and what I would like to see is posterior chain focused stuff. So when we're talking about squat supplement work, we're talking about good mornings mostly. And then when you get to deadlift supplemental work, then you're talking about like straight leg deadlifts and things of that nature. So hopefully that helps. The backgrounding thing is the big thing that you need to focus on. Outside of that, I think this is not too bad.